Welcome to the real journey of the entrepreneur. The journey of any entrepreneur begins with a decision, then writing down your vision, then the execution of that vision. It is not for the faint of heart. It is for those who understand how powerful your mind is and that you can truly create the life that you deserve. It does require a unique formula that includes belief in yourself, a lot of consistency, connecting with an OG, a lot of tears, missing out on a few events and things, and taking a whole lot of risks that will allow you to see your vision and dream come to pass. This journey of the entrepreneur is from the perspective of a wonderful mother, a business owner, whose goal is to break generational barriers and normalize the process of wealth building and financial wellness through entrepreneurship, all while creating a social and give back along the way. I am sharing this journey with you and invite you to share this process with me. Let's do this together. It's my own, but you have to feel comfortable to own it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? I will always support you.
Thank you.
Well, hey there, good friends. We are back. We are back. We are back. And guess what? I am not alone, especially in this space of entrepreneurship. I can tell you day in day, it's consistency, and that is definitely not for the faint of heart. My name is Anita Pearson. I'm the founder and CEO of 11375. We are here supporting you with information, more information, resources about what it really means to be in this space as an entrepreneur. Almost 9 years ago, I had no aspirations of doing this, but here I am. Here we are, and we're going to do this together. And today, I have the best seat in the house, as I always say, and I am sharing space with a full-time, awesome entrepreneur. Not only, well, let me just take a pull back. So y'all know, as y'all been watching the show, I love food. I love food, and this is no different. LaToya has an enterprise that she has created, a space that is full of good food, full of education, full of resources, and I'm excited to have her come back. But this time in a different space. I always like when we have updates and, new discoveries and all the good stuff, but also we share something else, but I'm not going to mention. I'm going to have LaToya tell about her updates and all the goodness that has been happening. But also, I'm going to tell you, I like food, and the food is good. Hi, LaToya.
Hi. Well, listen, it is such a pleasure to be here. That intro. Yes. You got to say it again for the people in the back.
Which part? It ain't for the faint of heart or my crazy afro?
All of that. Listen. We all just come up out of COVID. We got the crazy hair pictures. We couldn't get to our. I got a couple for you.
LaToya, it's so good to have you here. I want you to tell the folks all the way in the back, but don't so who in the front. Who are you? What do you do? What are you engaged in? And how are you impacting this world?
So my name is LaToya Meaders. I am the founder and CEO of Collective Fair Enterprises, as well as founder and CEO of Collective Foodworks. Yes, I run two companies. One, Collective Fair Enterprises, is a full service catering, hospitality, and food services contracting company, which means I cook a whole lot of food. My team, not me, my team and I cook a whole lot of food. I have transitioned from culinary to more administrative CEO because this is part of the business. You have to, if you're not doing your books, you need to have somebody else you can trust doing them. And then I also founded a nonprofit called Collective Food Works, which whose mission it is to collaborate, sustain equitable initiatives around food access, workforce development and training. Uh, some culinary education is mixed up in there, but also renewable energies, because we have to provide workforce development so our these kids, they understand where the career track and the trajectories are going in the next couple of years. Honestly, it's in my belief that they are entering one of the most grueling job markets, all of our 18 to 23-year olds. We didn't have to compete with the computer, right, to write something or to be something or to be somebody. Now jobs are they're changing, and I feel like it's our part to also work with the youth to make sure that they stay on the cusp of all of this change.
So I had a chance to meet LaToya at the height of COVID. And I remember not only, having food prior to being in that space, but just what happened, just in terms of business growth, business development. In Brownsville, if you saw a part of the video, I was in a space. Um, actually, it was right before we got shut down, that I was in that space. And I just remember how that space transformed into a space of love and a space where people can come that had food insecurity and, just needed a space to go. Can you just, not to be so reflective on that space, because it was terrible, right? I'm just going to keep it real. But there were pockets where we were able to, as a community, find a neutral space, a hub, and LaToya was at the forefront of that. Do tell, do tell.
Absolutely. Listen, I thank you. You know how you do something, and then when you sit back and you reflect on it, and you're like, wow, that happened. I did that. We
Yep,
did that.
yep.
That this what we experienced during COVID is that moment, that testament to who I know I am. I
Mm,
guess that's the best way to put it. So let me give some context. Um, in 2019, we had just started Collective Fare. We were doing catering and some small scale contracts. And because this is an entrepreneurship business show, I'm gonna talk figures. I'm gonna talk numbers, because I think people need to understand also the real mathematics that goes into business, and things that you didn't think you needed to know. Uh, I want to share that.
okay.
So we started out with our catering company. We were making about 65 grand uh, um, a month in sales, which is good, but it's not a lot for a small scale startup, right? Probably a little less, especially when catering and the holiday season comes around. So when COVID hit in March of 2020, we were already coming out of our dry season, and we literally had $150,000 of contracts on the books. And this is all the way till October. When the shutdown happened, we lost everything. We had refrigerators full of food. We, my partner and I, were looking at each other, and the one thing we both, as part of our philosophy, is if there's nothing we can do, we could always cook, and we could always feed people. We started pretty early, like at the top of March, when we realized what happened with COVID, that many of the seniors needed to stay home. So we started making like oatmeal and things that we can do to sustain them to stay inside. But by the time the shutdown happened, we were already making about 400 to 500 meals a day, just to seniors and people in the community, distributing food. Then we began to organize, because we saw the shutdown was going to happen in places like Brownsville that are already dealing with food access issues, already dealing with food insecurity, already dealing with the fact that they don't feel, or we wouldn't feel that someone would care about how we're taking care of each other and our elders. we saw the space that we had and the effort that we had to build. So what we started doing is we started working along with organizations such as the NYPD, a few nonprofit organizations, and worked along with other organizations such as University, BCMS, BMS, and started working at how do we create a centralized hub in Brownsville that um, that can help people address their food access issues. More importantly, I know people don't probably understand this part, but we worked along with cure violence organizations because, when people are dealing with stressful situations, sometimes they might turn to an alternative method. So we want to let them know that that alternative method was not necessary. We got you. And it doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter where you live. If you need some food, you come over here and do it. I mean, you come over here and get it. So we started prepare. We went from 400 meals a day to almost 10,000 meals a week. We also turned the basement area along with a few other groups, East Brooklyn Mutual Aid, and a few other organizations. We turned the basement into basically produce packing area. So we were distributing about 14,000 pounds of fresh produce. So meals and produce were flowing out of that building. We had lines around the corner. We had populations of people in Brownsville that we didn't even know that were in Brownsville. It was absolutely amazing. I went from, putting up signage in Spanish, then it turned to Mandarin and Cantonese, it just became this beautiful effort. I went from a team back to business. I went from a team of 6 to a team of 65. I did not, I had to learn quickly on the job how to run a payroll, how to, make sure the taxes go in, make sure everything is running above board, as well as organize the business functions because if I didn't know anything about delivery and distribution, I got I got what did they say? You learn by the seat of your pants. Mind you, I'm going to add all this in. I was when I was come March of 2020, I was about 4 months pregnant as well. So, if you see any news clippings or any pictures of me, I think they did an article in New York Times. That wasn't because I was eating all the food. That was a baby that was growing in there. Um, and it was, I have to say that as I look back on that experience and everything we went through, and mind you, yes, it was stressful. Um, but what was more stressful was learning that the amount of people that deal with food insecurity and lack of access to food, fresh food, vegetables, nutrient dense food, that is what kept me going. Is saying, you know what, literally to the point where I gave birth in June, and right before I'm going in to I'm in labor, and I'm like, this lady calls, and I'm like pumping out her address to my team right before they get me into the room so that they could I could have my little son Fela. So it was something that we did to the core. It was out of love. It was out of love for our people, love for our community, love for making sure that everyone has access to food. It was a real pivotal point I get in my life as well, because one, just learning about, not just learning, but I've experienced food insecurity in my life growing up in New York in the 90s. Like, come on, we've dealt with some things, but to see it on such a broad scale and knowing that our communities would be the ones not truly focused on, to really galvanize and organize people. It was I learned things about myself that I didn't even think I could do. I learned about the trajectory of where I want to take my business. I learned about social impact entrepreneurship and realized that that is my lane. I've realized that it really is about creating something more than myself.
So let's unpack that a bit, right? And the reason why I wanted to start and to elevate that is because, even though you have significant experience as a culinary artist, I'm going to say artist, right? I'm not going to just say chef, culinary artist, right?
I like culinarian.
Culinarian. Okay, I'll take that. And so with that, you transition into now a larger enterprise where now you have another business, you have multiple businesses, um, and that transitioned you. I wanna lean in a bit on a couple of things that you mentioned. One about your learning process, right? So a lot of us, when you see, all the, hair done, I want to look cute today. I want to feel a certain way today. I don't always look like this. We don't, and through the process of growing and developing your enterprise, you mentioned a couple of things that you learned. One about paying taxes, payroll, staffing. And when you're dealing with other humans, that requires systems, operations, and dealing with personalities.
Yes.
Now, can you just have us peek into, moving fast forward? You have a new space in Bed-Stuy, um, do or die. And you have this new space. What was that transition like from? Because I know you probably still do some of that work, right, on your nonprofit arm. What was that transition like? And now having this full space, you have to pay lease or rent or mortgage space. You have staff, you have systems. Describe what that really looks like as a culinarian.
So, I mean, like most people that are in the culinary field, it's mostly when we started, it's about the love and the passion of our food, right? And what we want to share, the stories we want to tell. But there's a whole side of this business that is more less about what you're actually feeding people and more about how you're treating people.
Mm,
And that has a lot to do with the way we run our services. I've from the inception of my time in food service, I've always been drawn to catering and hospitality. I love celebrating events with people. I love laying something out is beautiful and making it sure that everything is perfect rather than like the typical restaurant, which is like it's a plate per service, right? You're just waiting for people to come and put their butts in seats. That's the way I look at restaurants. Not that no harm, no foul, but I love catering. I love hospitality. I love making flower bouquets. So to be able to like add in all of that passion into a dinner or into an event is always like, always been the dream. But when you get to the nitty gritty of when you actually start to run your business, you realize, okay, so who's going to be on top of these books? And in the beginning, you would like to think you could pass that off to somebody, but don't nobody pay your bills like you pay your bills. Don't nobody, and it's the same for business. You know, Here's a little fun fact, right? If the best way to organize yourself to get ready for business is to organize yourself personally. So you have to set up your who's getting paid when, making sure that your team is taken care of, having a little bit more understanding and flexibility. I understand we want people to show up to work on time. However, they might be dealing with something. So you have to have a bit of empathy. You have to have a bit of compassion. But then you also got to turn around and do some tough love sometime because if you are a person such as myself and my partner, we tend to hire people that are near and dear to us, that we care about. So you also don't want that complacency to set in, um, where they feel like, I just take the day off, I'm not going to call out. Because the thing that we tell our team is like, you're not affecting me personally, you're affecting the rest of the team. So when you don't show up and you're not engaged and you're making it so that you're making someone else's workload more that it doesn't need it, and then they can't do their job properly. So it really does trickle down. A few things I learned a lot about were getting good people around you. More importantly, we cannot do this alone. This is not, when you see people are self-made entrepreneur, I go, that's nice. There are about 20 other people behind that person. There are at least a good five strong people that are like probably fixing their hair, probably writing a note, probably answering a phone, probably doing an invoice, something that gets that person to that next level. So there is no really easy way to know, because everyone's journey into entrepreneurship is different. I can only tell you about mine, and this is something I've always been an entrepreneur, and it was about time that I faced that fact.
Mm, that part. That part. So I want to lend into the usual uncomfortable situation to conversation about money. You talked
Mm.
about, you did some figures, um, but you also started in 2019, like officially. What was that starting point financially for you and your business, if you don't mind sharing?
If you really want to know the real deal, I can tell you it's something that me and my partner laugh about often. We started our business with nothing. We
Mm,
had nothing to start. I actually, and here's a little backstory about me. Um, I have a degree in electrical engineering. I'm an electrician. I started this business because I, I had gotten into a motor vehicle accident, and I was hurt. If anybody remembers me prior, I used to walk with a cane. I was in a lot of pain. I was dealing with a lot of different ailments with my body. Um, but I knew I wasn't done. I knew there was something more that I had to give to the world. Didn't
mm,
know what it was, but I also knew that working for someone was not going to be the thing for me. So I started diving into what it is that I actually wanted to do when I came up with consulting. I started with doing consulting for small restaurants. Because I have a background in both culinary and construction, I was helping people build out their restaurants, the flow of the kitchen. Because it was like I realized I was in a really sweet spot of understanding, one, from my 15 years being a chef to my other 10 years being in construction. I knew that the layouts of kitchens were very important to the flow of food, but I also knew about the business of food. So understanding how all of that comes into just building your restaurant out to running your operations. And I launched a business that I was consulting a myriad of different small businesses in the Brooklyn, New York, and South Carolina areas to help them launch their businesses. It wasn't until I got me and my partner were commissioned to write a culinary training program, which was right up my wheelhouse, because I was doing it when I was working with the IBW Local 3 as an electrician. I was working with them also on like education, mentorship. So just really just diving into like knowing that there was more for me to give back. Catering came down as almost like under duress. It was like, well, we don't have jobs. What are we gonna do? People were calling us and asking us if we were providing catering services. We looked at each other and we were like, yeah, why not?
mm,
Um, we started the business. We because of what we do, and we do it well, we were able to scale the business pretty quickly, put on some new clients. But I actually started focusing more on corporate accounts, working along with Facebook and Twitter, a few other corporate accounts in Manhattan, and realizing that we could make a pretty penny and living at this. And then that October, right after we launched the business, is when I found I'm sorry, that December, when we after we launched the business, is when I found out I was pregnant at 42 years of age. Right,
I'm
mind
laughing out
you,
loud. I'm
mind you,
laughing out
mind you,
loud.
mind you. I have a at the time, it was 2019. I had a 19-year-old. So
If you're a mom, we're chuckling, right?
we
I'm a
have to
mom,
laugh.
but that gap is like you're starting completely over. So, yeah. So while we're on topic, there's a
Well,
couple of gems that I really appreciate you sharing your stuff, because everyone has a story to share as it relates specifically to what it is that you're doing. I'm curious about you said you have a degree in what again?
electrical engineering technology. I was electrician with the IBW Local 3. Um, again, great career track, really stable job. Funny thing, I was looking to even move from that and go into like electrical contracting and things like that. But again, I do have to say the hardest thing about transitioning from, and a lot of people, I think this is a really good part, is transitioning from an employee mindset to a
Mm,
full entrepreneur mindset. That is a very, very difficult thing to do, because sometimes you even take that employee mindset and you throw it into your business, and you realize, well, oh, this isn't 9 to 5. Oh, this doesn't, just because I want to get paid doesn't mean that I get paid. um, who's gonna do this accounting around here? Oh, me. Oh, I have to do it. So it becomes where you work more than you bring in, but when you do bring it in, the taste is so sweet.
yeah.
It's so sweet. And it's like, oh, I want to do this. I want to keep doing this. How do I continue to do this? And it becomes this almost second nature. It's like a muscle. You got to build it. And that means that you got to keep you got to keep driving at it. And you might fall on your flat on your face a couple times, but you're going to keep driving at it because you know this is the trajectory that you want to go. Um, that is entrepreneurship in a nutshell. It is. There's really no other better way to put it.
In that you have to keep failing in order to know what's out there. You got to try and take risks.
It's called failing up. That's
Yeah.
how I like to look at it. It's failing up. I don't look at failure as a terrible thing.
It's
I look
not.
at failure as an opportunity to learn not to do that again.
Right.
Not going to do that again. That didn't work. Or take the scientific method. Why didn't it work? Because it seemed like it was a good idea. But what was it? Was it the people you put in place? Was it the system, right? Or was it the client? It's okay. Sometimes it's the client. And you have to figure out if how that thing works, how you make it work. And once you can do that, then you can say, okay, this is how I generate revenue doing this thing in this system in this way with these particular people. That is that's how I've learned. Um, Again, all businesses are quite different. Food is a different beast than, say, something like retail.
Mhm.
You have to think about those of us that are in the food business. Everything we have or everything we are selling is perishable. So there's a time frame on it. So you have to figure out how to sell that item quickly so that it is fresh and it's of quality. If I was making T-shirts, different story.
So I'm gonna just slightly pivot a bit. I chuckled, when you said that you were 42. You said 42 when you gave in the gap. So we both have children that are under 10. Mine will be 10 next year, and I wanna air this out because we had like a little bit of we started to have a conversation about, as you're visioning, as I'm looking at Latoya's looking at me, we are almost a reflection of each other. We're Black women. Like I identify, and that's not a mistake. Um, and when I think about this process of having and creating this dream through entrepreneurship and raising a very joyfully curious, I have a daughter. It's no joke. And I'm gonna say it very specifically, very directly. Um, it's no joke.
No.
In my head, I have all the nannies, I have all the someone helping out. But at times it doesn't always lend that way. One, because I have huge trust issues with my kid and other folks. That's me being honest, be very direct, transparent, and there you have it. So along my journey, you have seen my child show up in meetings.
Yep.
I did not care. I had opportunities where I had to lock the door during the COVID area where we were on lockdown, and she would pop in. It's not easy. I want to say, as someone who we share that in common, besides being business owners, that even that aspect sometimes have to check out. I have prioritized, self care and what that looks like for me. It's not going to a supermarket and walking around, and that's not self care for me. Sleeping is something that's really important. But I also want to say that having other peers who share similar experiences as mothers, as Black women, because all of that has layers. I'm just gonna tag you, LaToya, because I know you shaking your head, you agreeing. Y'all saw my afro in the video, and I'm gonna tag you because, and I'm also gonna say this because, and I'm gonna shout this out. Um, LaToya was recently accepted into a business accelerator, right? And I remember being in an interview and watching her go through the dynamics of having something really important to do, having a baby, not a baby, but a child that is thriving for your attention. And guess what? She got in. Not because of all the madness, but because she's a skilled, qualified leader that is in this within this accelerate. So I've taught, and I want to pass the mic because a lot of times when you know we are looking at influencers on the social media, I have to find folks who are mothers or parents, right? Who maybe dipping their toe in the space of entrepreneurship and also still navigating the 9 to 5 job. Those are real stories for me. I
Yes.
don't really like to be influenced by people or individuals who are creating a facade, right? And if in a moment I'm gonna have to transition, make sure my child got food after school, meal, make sure homework is done before we start getting into the debate as to whether I can use the tablet. Those are very
Right.
real. And still manage clients and still try to manage my overall mental wellness, but sometimes I don't do well with, and still want to create this dream that reality isn't anyone else's dream but mine. So I'm
Yeah.
going to tag you because I know what it is. You
Yeah.
have to share your journey.
This journey has not, as you said, it is not for the faint of heart. And I think before we were saying, I had to ask myself, the age old question, right? Can she have it all, right? Can she have the career? Can she have the family? And she can have, can she have all of these things simultaneously? The answer is yes, but there are going to be some caveats.
Mm,
And some of the caveats that I have dealt with is, yeah, I haven't taken care of myself the best way that I could, mental health wise.
mm,
Because when you are steering and driving a business and you have employees that are in need of, you to keep the business thriving and running so that they can take care of their families. I'm fortunate to have a very supportive partner, but mommy is mommy. It, that's at the end of the day, he could be standing right there. My son is looking at me like I'm hungry. And I'm like, you do realize you have two parents. And yeah, well, you make my peanut butter and jelly sandwich. You make it. Like that is how he thinks. Um, my son is very rambunctious, very, very, very energetic, and doesn't take no for an answer. All of these traits are awesome in an employee.
So put in the work. Put in the work.
All
Put
these
in the work
traits
like
are
I do
awesome in
mine.
an employee. Uh, not for a toddler. They're like, okay, um, there is this balance that I've had to learn to create. And mind you, and even realizing, and back to the mental health, even realizing that I was going through postpartum depression all along, dealing with, the ebbs and flows of my body, just,
Mm,
as we are, building at this business. The last 4 years in business has been interesting because the things that we knew to be true, especially in the food service industry, those are not true anymore,
right.
right? Those things have changed because people's spending habits have changed. People looked at the world differently, right? People used to go out partying and drinking and go to restaurants. You can ask any restaurateur right now, any bar owner right now, and they will tell you probably one of the slowest summers they've had in quite some time. And mind you, it's 2024, and they were even shut down. They were experiencing this from, 2020 all the way over till now. So
Mm,
things still haven't really rebounded the way that we are anticipating. So imagine all of that. Um, keep trying, keeping the business afloat, making sure that you're making the right moves, mothering a full-time child. I, like you, have trust issues. So having, some nannies is great, but nobody's mama. So yeah, I'm, popping up in places, working from home. I think that has been the thing that has been amazing. Like, I know I wouldn't have been able to do that years ago, but being able to, like, work from home, my computer game is sick because I, make sure I stay on top of my devices so that I can work remotely and have all of the necessities needed to run my operations. But more importantly, just having some really great team members like my assistant, my team in the kitchen and things, and just everybody coming together for for a purpose and keeping this thing, driving. Um, I was reading this book the other day. It's called Traction, and it's by Gino Wickman. And in that book, it starts to talk about where do you see yourself in business, as a visionary or a injector, meaning the person that actually, like, fires. Like, so the visionary is the person that creates the business plan, creates the ideas, and then there's the person as the initiator, sorry, that goes in and takes those plans and puts them into fruition. Sometimes you wear both hats, sometimes, and which is difficult to wear both hats. Sometimes you're only wearing one and then something is falling through the wayside. So it's really about having a great team around you that understands the vision and which in the trajectory that you're going to help this push forward. I'm not going to front. I bring my son to the office. Sometimes between him and a few other my other team members who also have children,
mm,
um, it looks like kitty camp in here.
mm.
And we'll have like four, 3 or 4 toddlers and a 10-year-old, and we're pumping out contracts and doing the work and doing what we got to do. Um, but it also makes you really take a deep dive in the way that women have had to maneuver in order to keep their families together and keep food on the table as well. So
Mm.
it's powerful. It's powerful.
So yes, we can.
Yes.
If we believe and set up things within our spaces to help us to be successful, we can and we will. It just takes, it may take us a little bit longer than most to get to where it is that we want to. But believing that, um, my daughter draws a lot. She what I call doodles. I said, "You and your doodle." She said, "I'm not using the bathroom, mommy. I'm drawing because I gotta have proper diction with my child." And I noticed that as I'm looking through her drawings, she has a lot of drawings of me and in a cape with the craziest afro, but she has the business name always on the shirt. And so, what's so beautiful and what makes me kind of like happy is that she's seeing her mom go through challenging times. And I'm not going to say it's not challenging at all, but she's seeing another way to have access to things that she wants. She seeing me build out my dream. And for
Yes,
me, I think that's priceless. And being able to create through entrepreneurship that I'm able to pass down something if she chooses to be in it. But she sees it, and those are the things that make me go, "Oh my goodness, I'm doing something. I'm exposing her to something different." She could choose to work for someone else if she chooses to. She could choose to do whatever she wants to do. But the mere fact that within this time, that is what makes me feel like besides the work that I've done, but just direct impact, and getting direct feedback about, what I am doing. And her actually saying she's the CEO, she's my boss, lets
that's
me
right.
know that I'm doing something.
No, I mean, listen, we have the same philosophy. I'm when we take our son, we're going to our store.
Right,
He is aware of it. We're all going to work. And used to see his little self. He pack boxes and he puts food in trays and he's engaged. Matter of fact, if he can't help is when he gets upset,
right.
right? So to him, the lesson that we're teaching is this resilience. We're
Mm,
teaching this, work ethic, things that our parents taught us. You know, when I think back onto my childhood and exactly everything that I'm doing now, I chuckle
mm,
often because my mother used to cater and for the church. I didn't think about it anyway, and I'm like, wow, this is literally what I do for a living. My mom, to this day, if you go to visit my mom in Charleston, South Carolina, you have to go and find her because she's feeding people on the veterans and taking care of people. And I look back at it and I'm like, all of these things that she instilled in us are the things that drive me today, me and my sisters. So you're doing the same thing for your daughter. She's seeing you, she's watching you, and she knows that you're capable and it's possible. And it forms this thought in her head of where she can and type of woman that she wants to be, right? So as we do this for our children and expose them to this other side of life and to understand that yes, we could work 9 to 5s and that could be great. However, these are the choices that we made, and we're doing this for the betterment of our family, and you are part of that. I think is I think it's monumental. I
mm,
think it is. I think it is. It's one of those like little links that locks into their little mind as they grow up and they see and they go, oh, I mean, again, I don't know if he's ever going to be an entrepreneur. If he does, that'd be great. If he doesn't, I already figured out my contingency plan.
right, right. Got to.
But I think it's important for him to understand that it is possible to be self-sufficient
Mm,
and resilient, and the things that we stress about, right? Things that you stress about as an entrepreneur is not the things you stress about as an employee.
mm,
So having open conversations, we're pretty open about the way we speak about business in front of him, and even in front of our team. Transparency is important so that they get the understanding that we're working just as hard as you. You know, so this little guy is already a boss. He is amazing. He's very very, very intuitive. And he loves giving back already. So I'm excited to see where he's going with all of this, and if he will follow into, either one of our footsteps. Even though if you ask his father, he doesn't want his son to be a chef. That's not
Hmm,
that's not the plan. And I'm like, I don't think that's up to either one of us.
right.
But
They will go as they are designed and purpose and be led and guided
yes.
as to where they need to go.
All I know is my 4-year-old has better knife skills than some grown people I know. So
Taught by the best, taught by the best. I'm telling you. I have a final wrap up question because I mean you're I like having conversations that are flowing. What advice can you offer businesses who are interested in just taking a leap?
well, that's a good question, because what I would have said 2 years ago versus what I'm going to say now. 2 years ago, I would have said, do it, take the leap, jump. Yes, be a part of this entrepreneurship life. Yes. What I would say today is, I believe the best way to enter into this is to understand what it is you really want. Because once you get to a certain point, there's no turning back. There's no quitting. You will be forever changed. So you won't even, that boss talking to you, you're gonna be like, why are you even talking to me? Like, who are you? Like, it's you will change. So get yourself prepared for what is to come, and that means all the things. If you got that lingering credit situation, fix it, because that might get in the way of you leveling up and scaling. If there's something that you want to get yourself a routine, if it's getting up in the morning and walking, because all of those things lead into how you deal with your mental health and stress, right? I was watching this documentary on Rockefeller. JD Rockefeller said he lost all of his hair due to stress. And even he said he wasn't sure if it was worth it. Mind you, this is Rockefeller. And even he said he wasn't sure if it was worth it due to the stress. But if you look at his boy Carnegie Hall, he's Carnegie's smooth sailing. And these are both, major businessmen of like the 1930s, 1940s, and they will tell you that the stress in this is not for the faint of heart. So I think the best thing to do is prepare yourself and prepare your life for what is to come. When you start to ask the universe for things, it's listening. It hears you. May not spit it out the exact way you want, but trust me, it's gonna come. You just got to be ready.
And that is the truth of this space that we are engaged in. And I want to say thank you for taking time out of your schedule, and also congratulations because you know I don't often talk about loudly enough what I'm doing, but I'm actually leading this accelerator, writing out the curriculum. And I am, sometimes, yeah, I don't shout out enough. I consider myself a quiet and I like to do things in the background, but I'm doing things that I've been told that I need to talk about. So I was selected to develop this healthcare hub accelerator that focuses on procurement. And LaToya was one of the talented pool of entrepreneurs that had the courage to actually apply for the actual oh, I got to emphasize that apply and actually went through the process and successfully have won and participated. So I want to say congratulations.
Thank
Um,
you. And congratulations to you because this is monumental.
I think so.
Congratulations on this and putting thought to putting your thoughts into an actual, it came to fruition. And this is an amazing thing. I'm excited, and I know that the other participants are also going to be very excited about this program, and what you stand to gain, and the knowledge that is there. Because when we're talking about procurement, especially with the city, state, and federal government, trust me. Back to what I was saying before, your business needs to be ready
That's right.
because they if you got that, I hate to be, if you got that thing you worried about, fix it.
Fix it.
Fix
Fix
it.
it. Fix
Fix
it.
it. Because they're gonna find out.
They're gonna find out, but
They're gonna
also
see it.
they're gonna see it. But also the thing that I am encouraging, specifically in a procurement space, is being financially prepared to manage the contracts. Because I know that I've talked about it in bits and pieces, and I'm really gonna unpack the importance of your cash flow. Because one of the things that I discovered earlier on is I don't get paid on Friday every Friday. And sometimes I have to, leverage other means in order to be able to support the
That's
team
right.
that is working with me. So in the procurement space, I'm excited for it. I'm excited for what LaToya is going to bring to this specific cohort. So be on the lookout, right? Because Collective Fair has been doing a lot of work. And I'm actually, as we're closing out, going to share um, her website, primarily because oftentimes we are looking for different spaces and, trying to figure out where we're going and what we're doing and all this other stuff. Nothing is perfect. And I want to emphasize that. We have there's a lot of you can, book information here if you need to do catering. You can find out about all of the things that exist with their food and all this. Look how pretty the pictures are. I just want to say that. And it's not something that's foreign. There's a lot of work that goes behind the work. In actually finding out what it really means to be in business. These things take time, to develop. But I'm also going to say just the support, because a lot of times when you are trying to figure out, where, what, who, when, why, these are the opportunities to be able to support local businesses in your backyard. Or if you need to have them cater, give them a call. So I wanted to, just elevate that, because a lot of times we think that, doesn't have to be quality food. It's really good stuff. um, you know, and if you have a budget or if you have some extra resources, mob them, go and support the businesses within your local community. We often think about, the larger mom and pops that are out there. These are local businesses that are helping to
I
support
mean,
the community.
Anita, if you want to bring me back on and we can talk about cooperative economics,
Well,
girl.
so let me write that down, because that's what's happening. Um, I always like when guests say they're gonna come back and give more of the sauce. So,
Listen, now that you want to talk about, that's, you want to see me light up? Let's talk about cooperative economics.
mm,
Let's talk about why our money needs to stay in our communities,
mm,
and
mm,
why supporting your local business in your neighborhood is just as viable for you, not just them.
mm. And on that note, I'm gonna say thank you for joining. I am so excited and glad to hear the update of all the work. You're doing an awesome job. And just as a mom, I know it could be like a bit crazy at times, but keep pressing, keep smiling, keep doing what you do, and just keep sharing your gift, because we need you in this space, LaToya.
Listen, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for having me on your show. Looking forward to chopping it up with you even more, moving into the future. And I just want the people to know that what you envision is very possible.
Mm,
You got to put in the work.
Mm.
That's the main thing. You got to put in the work.
Before you go, where else could we find you? I have your website.
So you could also find me at collectivefoodworks.org. That's on my website to my nonprofit. We work on programs. We have a few. One in particular, which is called Nutrinatal. It's
Mhm.
it's a program. It's centered around pregnant and postpartum women. What we do is we do a bag or a basket for women that are pregnant and postpartum. And what we do is we've created a community of moms, and we have all sorts of events with them. We do cooking classes. We hired on a nutritionist, and we basically look to create a space for health and wellness for our moms, especially those that are dealing with disparities in the hospitals, because we want to make sure that moms are taken care of. This program is near and dear to my heart. It is literally was born out of what I saw during COVID,
Mhm.
um, and what I experienced in the hospital system. And it's time for change. It's time for change.
And you are making change. So, sending you lots of love and light. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to share your knowledge and all the good stuff that I learned about you today. And again, please visit collectivefair.com. LaToya is on the social platforms. So please be sure to follow. And if you happen to see her out in the street, just make sure you send good vibes, because this space is not for the faint of heart. Sending you love and light. Bye, LaToya.
Bye.
So there we have it, friends. I want to just share that I love when I am engaging with other entrepreneurs. It is a joy, an absolute joy to be able to do so. But again, if you are in the space or online on the platforms, please do not hesitate to check out LaToya and her squad. Collectivefare.com, order the food, mob it out, help to support a local business within the community. I also want to, just share a couple of things about, just pretty much what being a mom, like, this is, again, we had a very wonderful conversation about what that looks like, being a mom, being in business, and also still creating and managing your overall mental health and wellness. And that is not something to be taken lightly. So I want to shout out LaToya for actually taking the time to share what that experience is specifically for her. And if you are looking to learn more about some of the additional resources that was mentioned, and you are looking to learn more, just check out the information that existed on 11375. If you're interested in being featured or want to buy ad space, please do not hesitate to give us a call, 718-691-8966, or you can email us at info@11375.com. I am really glad to have had the opportunity to be able to share time and space with LaToya. Be on the lookout to all of the work that her and her team are going to be engaged in the future. And thank you for joining the real journey of the entrepreneur. Please do not forget to like, share, and follow us at 11375. We are on the social platforms at 11375. Thank you for taking time out of your day to share space with us. We look forward to seeing you again soon. So long. When I think about motherhood and the space of entrepreneurship, it is two of the most scariest things that anyone who has chosen to be a mom can do. I love being a mother. I love being able to smile, share, grow, have my CEO in the making observe what it's like to be a business owner, to be able to use the things that are coming out of my mind and create. being in meetings, doing community work, and creating a space that we want to create for long-term wealth. Both are equally challenging. Both are equally scary, but the beauty about being in this space of duality lets me know that when I see her smile, when I see her laugh, when she challenges me to be a better person, I know that I'm doing what I'm supposed to do.